Millions of gardeners save their coffee grounds every single day. They believe they are giving their plants a natural fertilizer boost, a free upgrade straight from the kitchen trash can. But after testing coffee grounds on real plants for 30 days, the results were not as simple as the internet makes it seem. Some plants changed in ways I did not expect. One group struggled more than I predicted, and there is a mistake hiding in almost every coffee ground tutorial online, one that could be quietly hurting your plants right now. By the end of this video, you will know exactly what happened to each plant, which ones improved, which ones struggled, and the one mistake most gardeners make without even realizing it. Before we start the experiment, if you love discovering the truth behind common gardening advice, you are in the right place. This channel explores practical gardening tips, plant experiments, and simple ways to help you grow a healthier garden with more confidence. Consider subscribing, turn on the notification button, and join us as we test the gardening advice everyone is talking about. Have you ever used coffee grounds in your garden? Did they help or hurt your plants? Share your experience in the comments below, because as you are about to see, the answer is not the same for everyone. Why coffee grounds became popular? Coffee grounds became one of the most talked about garden hacks for a simple reason. Almost everyone already has them. Instead of throwing used grounds into the trash, gardeners started sprinkling them into flower beds, vegetable patches, and houseplant pots, hoping to recycle them rather than waste them. There is something satisfying about using kitchen scraps in the garden. It feels efficient, natural, and a little bit clever. And once a few gardeners reported thicker leaves or greener growth, the idea spread quickly online. That is how the myth was born. Coffee grounds are good for all plants. It sounds reasonable. It sounds natural. But reasonable is not the same as true, and that statement needed to be tested rather than repeated. The science behind coffee grounds. Here is the part most videos skip. Coffee grounds do contain nitrogen, which is one of the key nutrients plants need to grow. That much is true. However, most of that nitrogen is not immediately available to plant roots. It is locked inside organic matter that has to break down first, a process that takes time and depends on soil microbes doing their job. Coffee grounds are not a complete fertilizer, and they do not replace balanced plant nutrition. There is also an important difference between fresh coffee grounds and used coffee grounds. Fresh grounds are stronger, more acidic in effect, and can influence soil conditions more aggressively. Used grounds, the kind left over after brewing, are generally milder and safer when applied in the right amount. Composting changes the equation again. When coffee grounds break down in a compost pile alongside other organic material, they become a much more balanced and gentle soil amendment than when they are used straight out of the filter. So the real question was never simply, do coffee grounds work? The real question was, when, how much, and for which plants? The 30-day experiment. To find a real answer, I set up a controlled 30-day experiment using 3 groups of otherwise identical plants, grown in the same soil, the same light, and the same watering schedule. Group 1 received no coffee grounds at all. This was the control, the baseline for comparison. Group 2 received a small, moderate amount of used coffee grounds mixed lightly into the top layer of soil, applied every couple of weeks. Group 3 received a heavy amount of coffee grounds, applied more often and in a thicker layer, mimicking what happens when someone gets a little too enthusiastic with the leftover grounds from their coffee maker. I measured growth, leaf color, soil moisture, signs of mold or fungus, soil texture, and overall plant health, checking in every few days and recording my observations. At first, everything looked completely normal. All three groups looked nearly identical for the first week. But after a few weeks, something unexpected started happening. By week 2, Group 2, the moderate group, was showing subtle but real differences. The leaves looked slightly more vibrant, and the soil held moisture a bit more evenly between waterings. Group 1, the control, continued growing steadily, but without any noticeable boost. It was healthy, just unremarkable, which is exactly what a control group should be. But this is where things get interesting. Group 3, the heavy coffee ground group, did not show the dramatic growth spurt I half expected. Instead, the soil surface started developing a thin white fuzzy layer in a few spots, a sign of mold forming on the thick, compacted grounds. The soil in Group 3 also became noticeably harder to saturate evenly. Water either pooled on top or ran straight through certain compacted patches, leaving other areas dry underneath. The results from the final group surprised me the most. By day 30, Group 3 showed slightly slower growth than the control, along with a few yellowing lower leaves, a possible sign of stress rather than a boost. Group 2, the moderate group, finished the experiment as the strongest performer overall, with slightly fuller growth and good soil structure. Not a dramatic transformation, but a real, measurable improvement over the control. Science versus internet myths. So why do gardeners disagree so much about coffee grounds? Why does one person swear they are amazing, while another says they damage their plants? Based on what this experiment showed, both experiences can be true at the same time. Application method matters. Plant type matters. The amount used matters enormously. And existing soil conditions change how coffee grounds behave once they are added. A moderate amount worked well here. A heavy amount created problems. Someone online sharing a great result and someone else sharing a bad result may simply be describing two very different amounts, applied to two very different plants. Certain plants are more likely to respond well to coffee grounds, mainly because of soil pH preferences and their tolerance for the slow release of organic nitrogen. Blueberries tend to prefer slightly acidic soil, and moderate coffee grounds can fit well into that environment over time. Azaleas and rhododendrons share a similar preference, making them reasonable candidates for careful, moderate use. Hydrangeas can also respond well under the right soil conditions, though results vary depending on the existing soil pH. Compost piles are perhaps the safest place of all for coffee grounds, since they break down gradually alongside other organic material rather than sitting concentrated around a single plant's roots. In every case, moderation is the deciding factor. None of these plants are asking for a thick, constant layer of coffee grounds. They benefit from small, occasional additions, not daily habit. Plants that may struggle. On the other side, some plants are more likely to struggle when coffee grounds are used carelessly. Succulents and cacti generally need fast-draining soil, and coffee grounds can hold extra moisture and alter soil texture in ways that work against them. Lavender and rosemary tend to prefer leaner, drier soil conditions, and added organic matter can shift that balance in the wrong direction. Seedlings are especially sensitive. Their root systems are delicate, and a concentrated layer of coffee grounds can affect moisture and airflow right when young roots need stability the most. Any plant that depends on well-draining soil is a plant where coffee grounds deserve extra caution rather than an automatic addition. Common mistakes. A few mistakes came up again and again while researching and running this experiment, and they explain a lot of the bad experiences gardeners report. The first mistake is using thick layers. A heavy layer of coffee grounds can block airflow and slow water movement into the soil, which is exactly what happened in Group 3. The second mistake is applying coffee grounds too often. More is not automatically better, and frequent heavy applications can overwhelm soil that was never designed to process that much organic matter at once. The third mistake is expecting instant fertilizer results. Coffee grounds break down slowly, so anyone expecting a quick green boost is often disappointed, not because coffee grounds do nothing, but because the timeline is longer than expected. The fourth mistake is relying only on coffee grounds for plant nutrition. Plants need a balanced range of nutrients, and coffee grounds alone cannot provide that on their own. The fifth mistake is placing fresh grounds directly around every plant without considering what that specific plant actually needs. What works for a blueberry bush is not automatically safe for a succulent. Final verdict. So, after 30 days, do coffee grounds actually help plants, or are gardeners wasting their time? The honest answer is neither extreme. Coffee grounds are not a magical fertilizer, and they are not a waste of time either. Used in moderation, on the right plants, they can offer a small, genuine benefit. Used carelessly, in thick layers or excessive amounts, they can create real problems, from mold to poor drainage to stressed roots. They are best understood as a soil amendment, not a replacement for proper plant care or balanced nutrition. The best gardening advice is not about following every popular trick. It is about understanding why something works, so you can decide when it actually applies to your own garden. Coffee grounds can be a small, helpful part of a gardening routine, but only when used with the same care you would give any other soil amendment. Start small, watch how your specific plants respond, and let the results guide you, rather than a blanket rule from the internet. If this experiment helped clear up the confusion, there are plenty of other popular gardening myths worth putting to the real test, and the next one might surprise you even more than this one did. Thank you for investigating this myth alongside me. I will see you in the next experiment.